Hey everyone! Today, we're going to talk about an exciting part of history, the rise and fall of the Almoravid Empire. Let's go back in time to North Africa in the 7th century. This was when many Berber tribes started converting to Islam as Arab armies moved through the region. Even though the Berbers played a huge role in expanding Islamic rule into Spain, they were still under the command of Arab leaders from the Middle East. Now, let's jump ahead to around the year 1050 in the Sahara Desert, in what is now Mauritania. This is where a new group, the Almoravids, started to form. It all began with a man named Abdullah ibn Yassan. He was a strict Islamic preacher who believed that the Berber tribes needed to follow Islam more seriously. He taught the Lamtuna Berber people a much stricter version of Sunni Islam, and made sure they followed it closely. Abdullah didn't just teach, he built a dedicated and disciplined group of followers. To join his movement, people had to go through harsh punishments for their past mistakes, and breaking Islamic law was taken very seriously. Over time, this small group turned into a powerful military force. By 1056, the Almoravids were ready to expand. They moved north into Morocco, bringing different Berber tribes under their rule and making sure everyone followed their strict version of Islam. Not everyone agreed with them though. In 1059 they fought against another Berber tribe called the Bargawada. During this battle, Abdullah ibn Yassin was killed, but his movement didn't end there. Leadership passed to two cousins, Yusuf ibn Tashfin and Abu Bakr. Under their command, the Almoravids kept growing. In 1062, they founded Marrakesh, which later became their capital. By the late 1060s, they had taken over the city of Fez. Their rule spread into Algeria, and by 1084, they had full control of Morocco. They even expanded south into West Africa, reaching the Ghana Empire by 1075. Meanwhile, in Spain, Christian kingdoms were gaining power and pushing against the Muslim states. One of the strongest Christian rulers, Alfonso VI of Castile, forced Muslim cities like Seville and Granada to pay him money. The Muslim rulers of Spain were desperate, so they asked the Almoravids for help. It took some time, but in 1086, Yusuf ibn Tashfin led his army across the Mediterranean. They fought against Alfonso VI at the Battle of Sagrajes and won a huge victory. Between 1090 and 1092, Yusuf made sure the Almoravids had full control over southern Spain, protecting it from further Christian attacks. However, the Almoravids weren't very interested in art and culture. Unlike earlier Islamic rulers of Spain, they discouraged things like music and poetry. They also started treating non-Muslims more harshly, leading to a decline in the peaceful relationships that had once existed between Muslims, Christians, and Jews in the region. And in 1106, Yusuf ibn Tashfin, the strong leader of the Almoravids, passed away. His son, Ali ibn Yusuf, took over, and at first, things stayed stable. The empire was still powerful, and Maliki scholars had a strong influence over the government. Even though they recognized the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad as the highest Islamic authority, the Almoravids ruled on their own without outside interference. They also maintained good relations with the Fatimid Caliphate in Egypt. But trouble was already brewing. Many people in North Africa were unhappy with the Almoravid rulers. One of their biggest critics was a man named Muhammad ibn Tumart, a Berber from the Atlas Mountains. He had traveled to Spain and the Middle East to study Islam, and when he returned home, he started preaching that the Almoravids had lost their way. He believed they were not following Islam correctly, and that they relied too much on Christian mercenaries and Turkish soldiers instead of their own people. His ideas sparked a movement called the Almohads, and it quickly gained support. Ibn Tumart built schools and mosques, teaching his strict version of Islam. He even changed how religious services were done, making sure prayers and sermons were spoken in the Berber language instead of Arabic. Many Berbers felt connected to his message, and his movement kept growing. While the Almohads were rising in North Africa, the Almoravids were struggling elsewhere. In Spain, Christian armies were getting stronger. Between 1138 and 1147, forces from Spain, France, and Portugal attacked Almoravid lands, taking over key cities like Zaragoza and Lisbon. The Almoravids were losing control, and their empire was weakening. Meanwhile, in Morocco, the Almohads were becoming an even bigger threat. Even after Ibn Tumart died in 1133, his followers kept fighting. His successor, Abd al-Mumin, took over and pushed forward with their mission to overthrow the Almoravids. The final blow came in 1147, when the Almohads attacked and captured Marrakesh, the Almoravid capital. That was the end of the Almoravid Empire.